Hello, nerds and nerdettes. Welcome back to the channel where once again we have another top 5 listing for you guys. Today we will be going over 5 Marvel omnibuses that I feel are must reads. At a later point we can definitely expand that list to top 10, potentially top 20s, but for now we are going to start with 5 must read omnibuses from Marvel. But before we jump into that list, I do want to remind you guys, if you're looking for any of these books or any of the books behind me, to head on over to organicpricebooks.com. Use that discount code STAYNERDY to get $2 off your order. Not only will it help the top dog of the comic book distribution kind of realm, Organic Price Books, but it will also help out the channel, which I will forever be thankful for. But without further ado, we can jump into the list, starting with number 5. Number 5 is going to be Daredevil by Frank Miller, the omnibus. The companion could probably make it on this list alone, but I'm going to put on the actual contents of the actual run itself. Such an amazing and groundbreaking run on the character of Daredevil, breathing so much new life into the character, really ushering him into the dark, gritty, and grounded character that we all know and love today. Some big plot points explored here, such as obviously Daredevil's rivalry with Kingpin, as well as his rivalry with Bullseye, really boiling over that rivalry alone. Also the introduction of Elektra, Stick, the Hand, kind of the ninja aspects of Daredevil, really becoming a facet of the character himself during this run, all coming from the magnificent brain of Frank Miller, at one point doing the writing and art until eventually working with Klaus Janson. And my goodness, is it amazing. It is an amazing ride. If you're a fan of Daredevil, you've probably read this. If you're not a fan of Daredevil, then this is a great starting point for the character in general. This is as early as you should probably go. Anything before this, kind of the Stan Lee era, it's a little bit of a snooze fest if I'm being completely transparent. It has an amazing place in Daredevil's history, but this is the part you want to start at. Frank Miller absolutely killing the character, really just making him who we know Daredevil as today. And really this was the beginning of just Daredevil becoming one of those A-list titles every single time. Even his worst run is typically better than some other characters' runs. He always gets treated well and has amazing stories, and this, as I said, best place to start, and a historical run on the character that a lot of people believe to be one of the best runs in comics in general. But that does wrap up number 5, so we'll jump to number 4, which is the Infinity Gauntlet Omnibus, one of the most massive events to hit Marvel. Jim Starlin, George Perez, Peter David even coming on during some points. This is a trilogy. The first book of the trilogy is the Infinity Gauntlet, and my goodness, does this feel like comic books in a nutshell. Extremely high stakes, an incredible story taking place and involving the entire Marvel universe. A huge, massive, and insanely powerful big bad that we get introduced to with such a maniacal reason for doing the things that he does. And I'm here for every aspect of it, especially around the halfway point when you really see a huge twist in the story and the heroes potentially losing. If you've read it, you probably know what I'm referencing there. But my goodness, such a great event. Easily goes down historically as one of the best events, one of the most important events. Having Thanos really making his full-on debut against everyone all at once, really not holding back any punches and giving the Marvel Universe his all. You also obviously get to meet his love interest, Death, Nebula, a lot of his supporting cast as well. And if you are a fan of kind of Silver Age comics, you also get a little bit of that in here, that Silver Age kind of flair throughout. But it is definitely worth reading if you haven't before, and seeing it in this oversized format. George Perez and his art, I know he only did about half of the series roughly, and his art is absolutely magnificent. Whether he's doing Marvel, DC, it does not matter. He's knocking it out of the park. And obviously Jim Starlin doing his cosmic style writing that he loves to do. It is definitely worth the read. If you can get your hands on the Infinity Watch and Infinity Crusade, I believe, are the next two Omnis after this, and you can get the entire trilogy, definitely get it. But if you can only get the Infinity Gauntlet, check it out. It is worth the read, and it is so much fun. It feels like the MCU before the MCU in comic book format, and definitely anybody needs to read that before you die, before you give up comics. You got to check out Infinity Gauntlet. Next up, in the number 3 spot, is going to be House of M. Such a just insane, brain-melting event. It completely is full of twists and turns. You don't know who's the bad guy, who's not the bad guy. Extremely thought-provoking as well, pertaining to the instances of hero versus the person that's behind this event happening in the first place. It is definitely worth the read. It drastically affects the Marvel Universe going forward, especially the X-Men, and a lot of lines are being crossed. A lot of trust is being completely spat on. It is an amazing book. It ticks all the boxes that you really want. High stakes, insane fights, what if possibilities being explored, and in this omnibus, you getting all the tie-ins also definitely makes it that much sweeter to kind of see what if kind of storylines being explored, even more so than it typically would in a standard hardcover or trade paperback. But my goodness, some of my favorite art panels are through this as well. Incredible, absolutely just jaw-dropping. I remember this coming out in single issues and people really not knowing where Marvel was gonna go after the events that took place in this omnibus, how they are really going to pick up the pieces and go forward telling stories, especially pertaining to the X-Men. But they did exactly that, and you can see the remnants of the events in this omnibus still affecting a lot of characters today, and it's definitely worth reading, not only because of its historical impact, but really just how much character development, whether it's regression or progression, it's had on so many characters. A lot of you guys' probably favorite characters are the way that they are because of what took place in this book. I cannot recommend it enough. All of these books are absolutely amazing and could take the spot for each one of them. It doesn't matter. But House of M is absolutely beautiful, and that's exactly why it made it to the number 3 spot. And we can now move to the second, which is going to be Fantastic Four by Jonathan Hickman. You have Jonathan Hickman and his very thought out, intricate style of storytelling taking place on the title that is for Marvel's first family, really diving deep into that family aspect of the team of Fantastic Four, as well as tugging deeply onto the heartstrings because of some events that take place throughout. Again, another run that is going to have extremely high stakes, character deaths, very important moments, and something that Jonathan Hickman is very good at, which is callbacks to previous stories, such as Annihilation, taking place in this book as well. And it's also kind of the blueprint and the groundwork that he really starts to put into, that takes place into this book, that leads up to the Incursion and kind of his Avengers title as well. So definitely important for that reason as well, because obviously the Incursion led us into Secret Wars, and Secret Wars led us into Marvel Now, or All New Marvel, which is obviously a completely different new era of Marvel, the closest thing to a reboot that we've had in a very long time. And it's all because of the hands of Jonathan Hickman and really his extremely intricate writing with the characters of the Fantastic Four and really giving them an importance to the universe rather than just being Marvel's first family. Reed Richards being an insane genius that is almost obsessive to certain points. The Thing and Human Torch really keeping the family grounded, and Sue just kind of being in the middle of everything and trying to hold her family together. Amazing writing, amazing art, and yet another run that ticks all the boxes that you could want in a comic book story. Last but not least, we do have Venom by Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman, an extremely important omnibus to not only somewhat modern era at Marvel, but also for the character of Venom, fully ushering him into the heroic role rather than the anti-hero or the lethal protector kind of role that he was in previously. Fully fleshing out the symbiote's past, potential symbiote host and the connections that they have, and definitely putting a lot of importance behind the story following Eddie Brock as a child and growing up into the man that we see in this omnibus. 2 events do take place during this entire run, which of course is Absolute Carnage and Kingdom Black. 2 amazing events that definitely affect this run very drastically. A lot of the Spider family as well, Spider-Man, Miles Morales, all those characters. And you really get to see Venom fill some really big shoes of potentially being an Avenger, potentially being the hero that the world needs during specific moments, and then eventually taking a huge place in the universe as kind of its lethal protector in a way. It's King in Black, and it is 100% amazing. Donny Cates doing his thing, kind of just out there storytelling, somewhat even cosmic, especially involving the King in Black storyline, and he has a lot of fun. Ryan Stegman really stretching his artistic legs, especially with the teeth, jaw, claws, tendrils of the symbiote and symbiotic characters. But such an amazing run, such an amazing omnibus. If you're reading modern era comic books, then this is definitely a must read, especially if you're a fan of Venom. This is a lot of people's favorite omnibuses in their collection, favorite title that came out in recent years, and I 100% agree. It is a breath of fresh air for the character of Venom, a breath of fresh air for the Marvel Universe. Instead of seeing kind of the copy and paste, insert typical hero here, you get to see Venom, and you get to see him do what he's best at, and actually become what he's been trying to be his entire history, and it is amazing. But that does wrap up our list, so we'll wrap up with an outro. That does wrap up today's video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, comment down below what you would add to the list, or if you'd be interested in seeing my top 10, top 20. I even thought about potentially doing a era, most important omnibus of a specific era kind of listing too. I'm always open to any idea of a review or top 10, top 5, whatever you guys want to see as the audience. So comment down below. And also, like I said, comment your top 5 or what you would add to the list, because there's people all the time looking for new books to read, new must-read kind of list to kind of see what they want to read next. So you never know who you could be helping. But other than that, thank you so much for watching. If you would like to join the Illuminati, hit that subscribe button so you can join here today. And of course, hit that thumbs up icon if you enjoyed what you watched. And also hit that bell icon if you want to be notified anytime I put out content. But other than that, which I probably said a million times like I do with every video, thank you for watching, and of course, stay nerdy.